Hi, Vinicius. The first question, of course, is it pronounced perfectly or not?
Yeah, Vinicius, or the easiest way is Vini.
Vini. How you pronounce it?
Vinicius in Brazil.
Vinicius. Okay, Vinicius. Okay.
Vinicius.
You already know what is coming, right? What was your first computer?
My first computer was MSX, which was the Z8, very popular in Brazil. That was
MSX, you
the
say? MSX?
MSX, yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and we have different flavors. I remember that we have a branch called Gradient. They do the expert. I still own four of them. And they another one, the Sharp. They
Hmm.
used to use the Hotbit. But that was the first computer that I own. But the first computer that I really got in touch was a TK80 or something, very
Okay.
small one with a rubber keyboard, very simple keyboard.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember that. And then now they come with professional keyboard, and then it was a big change. The keys start doing clacky, clacky, clacky.
Yeah. The first ZX Spectrum, the proper one, also had rubber keys, and the next one had plastic keys.
Yeah, that's true. And there was the competition between the television with your family because we need to share the television, right? To
Hmm.
use as monitor. And yeah, but that was fun because that was a time that you really could do everything. We could say that it was able to be a full stack developer.
Yeah, you say that, but I
You,
never got the low level stuff as I was young. So it was for me, it was really hard to, without external help. It is really hard to understand what's going on in the machine. If you just have the manual, and this was hard, but it was a lot of fun because for me it was like magical thing, right? So it was like the only thing which was, how to call it, limitless, right? So I mean, it was like you got something and it never got boring. Usually, all the toys, they had a limit, but the computer was the first one without any limits for me.
yeah, that's true. That's true. And especially I'm going to a time tunnel, but when I started, the computers in Brazil, they still expensive. Like if you are going to
Hmm.
buy a MacBook Pro, it's very expensive. It's the same
MacBook Pro back
price.
then.
Yeah, in Brazil, yeah.
Yeah, but
And
we are talking about TK and ZX Spectrum time frame. This was the ZX was already expensive, right?
yeah, yeah. And then my family was big family. We were in six,
Hmm.
so I have a big family. And then my mother couldn't pay for a computer for
Hmm.
me, so I started. That put me on the road very early, So I started delivering pizzas with my brother, and then to save some money. And I
Hmm.
can tell you that my first computer, I pay by myself,
Hmm.
and it was like for me a school to be a company owner. Right after that, I founded Global Code, but I have many lessons like being humble, delivering pizzas to make money, to buy my computer. So I have a real roadmap in my head where I would like to arrive.
How old were you with the pizza delivery?
I was delivering pizza when I was 12.
Wow, it was
12.
incredible. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, 12.
Okay, and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
what you did then with the TK or ZX, so MSX. So what you did with the computer? So what was your very first action with the computer?
I play games for sure. Like
Yeah, what was your
we
very first game? You remember this?
Oh my gosh. Do you know I don't remember the game itself, but I do remember that we spent like hours typing the game that we have on magazine because that was the way that you
Ah,
distribute
okay.
the game
Hmm.
through the magazine. So we spent like the Saturday typing and like many friends, and we were alternating. And then in the end of the day, we could play the game, and then all the family arrived to watch television, and then we just switch and keep the computer turned on and make sure that nobody touched the computer so we could lost the code.
But you
And
could
that
save the code on tape, right? In BASIC.
that time we didn't have the tape. The
Ah,
computers, they have the interface for tapes, but we didn't have the tape recorder. I don't remember as the name we call in Portuguese. Uh, Fita cassette is the name in Portuguese for
how it's called? Vita cassette.
fita cassette.
Vita cassette. Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and you know what? I just got a new toy here in US, which is
Hmm.
a mini motorhome, and it's 2007
Okay.
and very good condition. But it came with a fita cassette player.
Okay. Yeah, this is usual. I mean, even 2007. Yeah, the cars had the cassette players, back then. Now
Yeah,
it's
and
the
it
CD
had
player even rare. CD player. If you get CD player, is already old, but cassette player was normal. And what I remember, there was an adapter which converted CDs to cassettes.
yeah. I do have this adapter in my RV, but now I can do like from the cassette I can play USB on my phone.
Oh, this is what I didn't knew.
This is new one. I just
This
found
is
it
this is
there.
crazy.
Uh-huh.
This is
It's still
this
here.
is this is crazy. Yeah. This is
Uh-huh.
like
Yeah.
a legacy. This is like ESB almost, like or integration EIE, enterprise
Uh-huh.
application integration.
Yeah, it's kind of art. It's not technology anymore. It's kind of art.
Yeah. Now I'm curious. When you started to code, or how it happened?
Yeah. So I started typing basic code for the games, and then once I got my first computer, um, and then I got my first flop drive. That was it just break the limits with the flop drive, and then I started doing dBase too on flop drive. So I
Hmm.
was able to run dBase on Z80s and then learning dBase.
First,
And
you said you started code games.
yeah, like cloning the games from the magazines. The code at that
Yeah.
time was in BASIC, right?
Yeah.
It was all basic code. I didn't know how to write a software, but my first contact was like typing some code, and then I
Hmm.
remember that we have like some interactions, and then we try to put another number to like duplicate the number and see what was the result on the screen in the
Yeah. Okay.
game, and
So I did the
how it
same. So
crashed.
you couldn't code, but you could replicate the code and see what happens, right? This was like
Uh-huh.
exactly.
Yeah.
And when you learned actually what happened, so when you knew that what is a let statement or for loop or whatever, so you learned proper from book or how it happened.
Yeah, then in the beginning was really investigating stuff, researching basically. It was research and development, and but then
I told it on the podcast several times but tell you once again. So what I thought at the beginning, the REM statement in BASIC, REM, right? You know it.
uh-huh,
This is comment.
uh-huh,
REM. This is the abbreviation of remark, I think. What I thought is that you have to draw a game with ASCII art. So you prepend REM, and then you can draw something, and then the computer will animate this somehow. That you will get one page full of REMs, with the screen, and they do it once again, and there's like a loop, and you have if you do it 60, like almost like comics, how they work, or not comics, like the Disney movies, and this was nothing happened because REM is just a comment. It's like in Java, multi-line comment, so you can do whatever you like. So I was really disappointed, and yeah, this was actually my first program without any syntax errors, right? So I just wrote a comment, full screen comment.
yeah, I do remember that my first useful program was a director, a phone director to
Okay.
store and storing on the cassette, and I keep this program for a while. And I also remember at that time I am a big Beatles fan, and for years during like when I was from 12 until 16, I was just listening the White Album, and then I remember that I liked to record the LP, the side A in the tape on the side A, and side B and the side B. So I always have some empty space in the end of the Beatles album, and then I used to fill with information. So sometimes you were listening the White Album and stop at the White Album, beep, that noise from the tape, you know.
Okay, so you were reusing the empty space.
Yeah, sustainable storage.
No, this was a high density computing, you know, I would call it. Was the White Album from Beatles the best? The best one, you think?
I really like it. Until these days, I really think that they have the more for the complexity inside White Album and the maturity. I think that is the one, you know, followed by Let It Be and Abbey Road. So they keep the same level, and I really like this phase. I don't like too much like the yeah phase of Beatles. I prefer the more complex.
Okay. What is the best song from the White Album?
That's I'm always changing, but I can say Happiness is a Warm Gun.
Happiness.
Nice. Happiness is a Warm Gun. I really like this one, but I don't play this one. Let me see the ones that I play from White Album. I'm going to think and I answer.
What do you play, in guitar or what?
I play a little, and then my wife is a professional, and then I stopped playing guitar because of her and tried something different. So I'm playing ukulele.
Okay.
And actually, let me tell another story. We are putting all the topics together. Last year, I did a demo with my ukulele and Java using processing.org. Do you know processing.org?
No, but we will cover Java later. Now, no, the listeners shouldn't even know that you are able to write Java programs, you know.
Processing is the father of Arduino.
Okay.
Actually, processing was invented inside a university to teach artists how to create animations. And so it's let's say that is a DSL for Java, because you can write Java classes and use inside, but it has a specific syntax to make it simple. We don't have main and the public static void main. So, but it's Java in the end when you convert everything, and it's amazing. And then it has a library called mining that can do fast Fourier transform in a very easy way. And so to have
one question to you, because I hear the public static void main all the time. So I learned C first, and there's also public static void main. But for me, it was the least possible problem to learn language. I said, okay, it has to start with public static void main, so I just do it. And this was like 2 minutes thinking. But after that, the hard stuff, starts. So I'm not so sure that the existence of public static void main is a problem to anyone. So I cannot just imagine, because for me, I remember exactly in C, what I also remember in C, that the index is different to Java. I think the index 0 of args is the name of the program, and in Java it is the first parameters. But I remember exactly the moment I saw this public static void main, or not public static. I think it's just int main. I think in C, and I say okay, okay, it has to be named main, and then it is like this. And what are the parameters? Okay, first parameter is the name of the program, and the next one is the argument. Makes sense, and this was it, right? And now the method invocation, parameters, types, this was the hard stuff, but not the main. So I just wondering, why everyone talks about the public static void main. I mean, this is the least possible problem you can have, right?
Yeah, I agree and disagree.
Okay.
From a software developer, a professional software developer perspective, for sure. Like if you cannot deal with public static void main, just go do another thing, But imagine that we are having, like as I said, artists that want to build stuff, and then if you have something that, okay, if you want to go further and understand what is static and what is void for sure.
Very soon. You're right. Okay.
So and then you can go further. So on the Arduino, for example, it's the same philosophy. Like you just have two methods: the void setup and void loop. And the
Hmm.
processing that is for doing the animations is same thing. Is you have the setup and you have a method called draw that
Hmm.
it's running in loop all the time. So you can draw the things, and the setup just once, and then the draw running loop all the time. And then I think that like processing is Java and is fathered of Arduino, which is Arduino IDE is Java as well, which is a nice way to show how Java is powerful on user interface. Everybody uses Arduino, nobody complain about Java. And everybody
Hmm.
that is doing Arduino is using Java behind,
Hmm.
to compile and to manage the libraries. So Arduino and processing show that Java can be really distributed as an executable for multi-platform. The distribution process is amazing. Like they deliver the software as a native software without any kind of pain. You just install as a regular software, and behind is Java.
Hmm.
And especially Arduino had to deal with USB ports, and Java and USB ports is
Yeah.
something really, really hard.
Yeah.
And they did an amazing job. So my message is don't guilt the guitar, right?
Yeah, you're right. But I started with Basic, then Turbo Pascal, and then C came. It's not like I was professional software developer. I had basically no idea as I started with C. So, but again, I remember that I wanted to learn C, so the GCC was compiler, okay. Then the parameters were harder. I remember minus O and whatever. So I was like, it is harder to get. And then the main was not a problem at all, and everything which came after that was harder to get. And if I remember, if you're an artist, you wouldn't start with the Java compiler. You would start more like with BlueJ or Greenfoot or Arduino software, which already starts Java, and you're writing a script or something like this, or you would write Apple, how it's called, Apple Basic, or no, Apple Basic, the Apple programming language, Apple script to automate software or whatever, because if you're an artist, why you would like to write software from scratch, right? So I would rather you will compose pieces to something like an artist are doing, right? They are not, you know what I mean? But I get,
Yeah,
of course, if there is a friction, it should be removed. I get it, but it is. I would say that there are different. That there are other things which could be improved, not necessarily. The main method is a problem. I just wanted to hear your opinion because I heard a lot and I thought about this. Okay, I remember my early days and what I didn't like in Java. I didn't like the interfaces. I didn't like the idea of the Java virtual machine because in C was everything easier. You could just compile and back then for me it was good enough. And but the main method was not the problem.
yeah. I
Everyone is different, of
remember
course.
learning Java I/O without knowing the decorator pattern was a nightmare.
Yeah, but I have to admit, I recognize several years later that it's a decorator pattern. I knew how it works, but I didn't recognize this decorator pattern. I say, it really this is like decorator pattern for the Gang of Four, right? But back to you, and back to dBase. So you said you wrote games, and then you mentioned dBase. What is the bridge between
Deep.
writing games and no dBase, right?
That's great because on the road writing games during vacations with my cousins was something for fun. But then when I start learning dBase, I was already targeting like I want to work with this. I
But
want to
why you
do
learn
something.
dBase? I mean, if you programming games, there's no way that you will bump into dBase. So how you got the idea to do something with dBase?
Yeah, my uncle was a Clipper developer.
Ah,
So
okay, okay.
that's the bridge. And then he said, you cannot run Clipper in your MSX, but I noticed that you can run dBase too, and go for it. And then I did, and you know what? Like some months later, I started writing a software for my another uncle that was managing to sell houses,
Hmm.
and he was looking forward to create a database of this.
Hmm.
And then it was my first my first job, let's say this
Okay,
way.
cool.
Yeah, and with this money, I could buy a printer, and then I
So it
had
worked
my
well. So your uncle was happy with you.
was he was happy with me. Yeah, he was. It was a nice way to start, and from there, once I delivered the software to my uncle that was a software developer hired me to be his trainee. So, and then my professional history started in 92, 93.
Okay.
So 30 years ago, 27 January 27, 93. That was the date
Okay.
I started as a trainee for, and then I was, wow, now I'm going to do Clipper using 2 flop drives on IBM XT 8080, right?
So you knew that dBase is something exciting or special, or you were excited about Clipper and dBase. So it was like back then, like the hot stuff, or what's
That was that the dBase was very strong in the Brazilian market, I would
okay.
say, for companies. So it was the really first popular technology for, especially for small companies that running like COBOL or something more complex would be harder. And so Clipper and dBase and Fox Pro, I remember
Hmm.
Fox Pro was very strong as well. But yeah, I did a lot of money with Clipper. Actually, it was my
I
first
tell you a
really.
Clipper story as well. So maybe it was 5 to 10 years ago. I got a request from a company, and it said, okay, they wrote, the software, the finance software on Clipper. And now I think Windows, I forgot which Windows, I assume after Vista or later, was introduced. It doesn't work, the Clipper doesn't work anymore on this Windows. Maybe Windows, not Vista. What was after Vista? Was Windows what? Windows 10. I think Windows 10.
Windows 10, yeah, Windows 10,
Windows
yeah.
10. Windows 10 doesn't run Clipper anymore. And they found me somewhere, and I should help them, to migrate it to Java. And I say, okay, look, finance software. And it's like, do you know Java? No. So which programming language you know? So it was, I think PL1 and Clipper. And they wanted to have Java, and I was the only who understood Java. And I said, okay, actually, Mission Impossible. I mean, we cannot do this. I mean, how? I cannot understand Clipper. You don't understand Java. It will never work, right? And the guy was like CTO. Back then, he was developer, but he was promoted until he is now CTO. And he said, the nice guy, and say, look, but I exactly know what I did. So I know all the formulas or whatever. But I have to understand the code. So, okay, we could do this. So what we did, we've wrote a Java system. Very simple. So I just used Java classes, only static methods, no new, because they couldn't understand new. So I wrote very simple program. And then I said, okay, how we test it? So forget unit tests. I mean, this would be too complicated. So what he did, I wrote like a small converter, which converted Excel with parsed Excel, used the data from Excel, run the tests, and create another Excel with arrows red or green. This passed, this didn't pass, and we had lots of test data. And the amazing story: in 2 weeks, the software was done with lots of fun, because they knew exactly how it worked, and they tell me, so is this way, this way, okay, we write tests, this, and we had lots of fun, and at the end of the day, it worked. But at the end, the company, the architects were somewhere else, and they look at the software and told, okay, this is, I mean, there is no UML diagrams, nothing, right? It's just software, so it cannot work this way. And they restarted a project, and they told me it's like at the end they were like, I forgot the exact number, but what I remember, like 40 consultants were just responsible for documentation. So it was a huge project. And it didn't work for years. And we did it once again with newer release, in 2 weeks again, after 5 years. So what I learned from the story is actually the most important thing is that you have to know what you are doing, from the business perspective. The programming language or syntax or the technology is not even that important. So write simple code. And if you know what they are doing, and the mapping between the business and the code is direct, you will win, because it's really maintainable. It is some concept. And if you want to run relation between the concept and the code, you will win. And and we had that much fun. We laughed, the entire time, and lots of jokes. And the others were asking us, are you actually working? Because and yeah, this was a nice project. Just this was Clipper project. So this was and the guy was he said Clipper was really great, and he was completely convinced about Clipper. This was my Clipper story.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. That's great to see Clipper. I was when we launched the custom runtime on Lambda. I said, "Oh, I would love to run Clipper on Lambda just because I can, you know." And then
What do you have to do? You have no, the next reinvent. You have to have a slot. Ask for a slot for Clipper on Lambda. You will get it probably on serverless Clipper on Lambda. So like or step Clipper. So step Clipper functions.
Step Clipper. No, but yeah, because you can do. I think that there is a framework for Clipper on Linux. I remember something.
I think it will work. It has to work, because do you have the custom runtimes? I think if you create the bridge, it has to work. I mean,
Yeah, Project Harbor is the name.
yeah,
of
but we
the-
are way too far. We are already talking about the future, like reinvent and Clipper. But in the past, so you started with the Clipper, and you worked for your uncle, and you earned some money with dBase and Clipper. So what was the next step? Also, 1993, it was almost before Java. Like Java came out 1995.
Yeah, yeah, and then from there, we did a train, a very nice one to learn C. Programming language with a teacher. Her name was Viviane Victorini Mizrahi, and she was in charge of bringing the C programming language to Brazil in the very beginning. And she was in charge of like creating libraries for Hans Donner for animations, and then we went to her training. It was a very intensive training. I think that almost 100 hours.
Why you did it?
And
Because you knew that C is the next thing, or why?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I thought that like I feel like Clipper was like okay for doing commercial software,
Okay.
but I want to go to the next step, and then yeah, we start doing. And the fun fact of this training is that I was 15 years old, and with my uncle. And then at that time, we just have the DOS as operational system, and then your code. So we used to access the registers, the CMOS and the registers, to have access to the fonts and things like that. And then if you do any mistake, you will restart your computer once you try to run your software, right? Because you
Yeah.
really have access to the low level of the registers. And my nickname in the end of the training was the Reset Boy. Reset Boy. My uncle was Bootman and Reset Boy. That was the
Okay.
name. And then we start doing libraries, graphical libraries for Clipper software. So that was the first project we did, like plotting charts in graphical mode, and that was really next level for Clipper.
Was it successful?
No, because they have someone, a big company just launched a library called CLBC, which is the Clipper library,
Okay.
whatever. And then it was huge. But yeah, I had a lot of fun and learning about the real operation behind the computer. I didn't make so much money with C, but it really pushed me to understand what was behind my Clipper software, and there were much more theory to learn. And then, Eden, we started migrating to Windows. The Windows started having, because at that time we have DOS and DOS shell, which was the Windows in text mode. And then you could have multiple apps, but I don't remember exactly, but it was a draft of the Windows in the graphical mode. And then I remember that Windows 3 just arrived very strong. And then suddenly you don't have access to the registers anymore. And then I was feeling like, okay, this Windows will put me far away from, now that I was so close from my computer. I need to learn how to build the DLLs to access what I was accessing before, and then all the programming languages. Like in Brazil, we had a competition between Delphi and Visual Basic.
Everywhere else
And
as well. I think Delphi was huge in Europe as well, and Visual Basic as well. So yeah, I think Delphi was a little bit more professional. This is
yeah, I
my
feel
feeling. The projects were bigger and more challenging, and Visual Basic were more like Office like CRUD applications. Those simpler databases, but more user interaction, something like this.
Yeah, I think that two important things started happening at that time. One, it was the migration from the text mode to graphical mode, which was kind of tricky because you start needing like UI abilities that when you write software in DOS, you have to provide like good developer experience and good UIs, but very limited resources, and sometimes limiting the resources is better because you don't have a lot to do to invent or reinvent. And the other thing that I remember was the competition between Novell Network and
Adware.
Windows. We Novell, Lantastic. I used a lot of Lantastic. Lantastic, Novell, and Windows came with TCP/IP, which was very slow for that time.
Windsock trumpet or something like this, right? There was something with
Uh-huh.
trumpet. Yeah.
Trumpet, yes. Yeah, yeah. And then, like IPX, the protocol from Novell was much faster for transferring files over the network than TCP/IP. But then the Moore's law just started making TCP/IP faster. But for years, I used Lantastic with Novell dedicated server 311, and it 3 I don't know, 311 was Windows 3 something, and man, it was so stable for Clipper software. We have a school with more than 20 computers in the same network, which was big for that time, and stable for months. Like you just put there, and it was very stable. It was
I
amazing.
think
But
I
then,
started with Novell NetWare 5 and immediately with Java because Novell was also big with Java. So they had own Java and NDS Novell directory services for managing of the printers like LDAP-like structure. And it was integrated. This was huge in Germany. So the and the management in Office and everything was red. I remember it was some completely different operating system, and yeah. And Novell, even in one time, they had support for Tenga, which was web before WebLogic. It was called Tenga because it is the neighbor island of Java. This was Tenga with H, and this run on Novell. So I remember also back then.
wow, that's great. That's great. Yeah. And then, yeah, and then we started doing like Windows, and then having the both protocols. I remember that for a period, we have the TCP/IP for doing some things, and IPX, IPX, no, the fantastic one for doing like data transfer. I remember dealing with both protocols, and then after Windows, the next Windows NT, Windows NT
NT, yeah.
3 351 was a big version, very
And 4 was,
stable.
I think, the really stable. It was the workstation, right? Windows NT
Windows
4.
NT4 was something to war battles.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it
do
was like
remember.
almost using a Unix, the Unix like kernel. What I remember, the NT. It was completely rewrite of Windows.
Yeah, yeah, and then I start doing DLLs
And
in
it still, and you
Visual.
didn't did Java back then. NT4 was pretty late already. So Java started with Windows 1995. So you were late to the game. So I'm disappointed right now. I thought you run Java on
No,
Windows
no,
19.
no. Yeah, no. Java, my history with Java. So I was working for Sun Microsystems as a contractor, and that time in 97, 98,
How you got
Sun
to
wanted.
Sun?
Yeah, my ex boss from one company was hired as manager from Sun,
Ah,
and I
okay.
was contractor for many companies because I never went to university. Actually, AWS is my first formal job, and 20 years ago, you couldn't have a regular job without a university
Mm-hmm.
certificate, degrees and things like that. So I was contractor for Sun. In 98, Sun wasn't using Java for their customers. We were using Perl instead. So, and then I was working for Sun doing web interfaces for managing LDAPs as well,
Okay.
using Perl. And then the Java training started at Sun, and someone say, okay, if someone want to be certified on Java as Java developer, I have these kits of videos that you can watch the videos. I pay for the certification exam, and you may be a Java instructor. And then, okay, I grab it, the opportunity, and then I started doing Java inside Sun, but then I was working for Sun,
So do you
writing
know
Perl.
SL275? What it is?
SL what?
SL275.
Oh yeah. The training, yeah. This one was the training that I most delivered in my life.
Okay.
It paid my, yeah. It was a very bad training because it was all mixed the concepts and it was terrible.
It
You
was
need to
Java
figure it out.
Java programming, Java basics or whatever, right?
Yeah,
SL27
you have
and SL285, still 285 was
285. It was the workshop,
exactly.
but
Wow. And 310?
yeah, 310 was the distributed computing on
Wow, not bad. Okay. And 350? 350 was EJB, right?
EJB, and the design
425?
patterns 00226. The
Yeah,
design
exactly. This
pattern.
was object-oriented programming, is 006. And there was another one, SL500, was Java E patterns, of course. And
Yeah.
SL425 was the architecture. And I spent most of my time in the 425, 500, and 310. I was also a contractor, but just as training. So I did it for fun as
310.
vacations.
I remember that I met my ex-wife on the SL 310.
Ah,
I
very
met
good.
Yana.
So, but
Yeah, I
this is
met
a
Yana.
bad sign. How you can meet, your wife in distributed programming? This should be like, not distributed. What is actually the opposite of distributed? It's like collocated programming. This would be Shankarek. Not distributed.
Centralized
Okay,
program.
centralized programming exactly.
Yeah,
So,
so yeah,
but how?
because of
One thing, one small bridge. What was the bridge between Novell, IPX, and TCP/IP and Sun Microsystems? So, what did it? You started as a consultant, so you left your uncle, and then you started as a consulting job, or what?
Yeah, my uncle. We were working for the same company, and
Hmm.
he left to be a director in another company, and then I
Okay.
assumed the team there in this company, but it was crazy, and it was a marketing agency actually, and I
Okay.
was in charge of the data center and doing crazy
Hmm.
softwares for campaigns, so
Hmm.
very slow deadlines, and then I left to work for a outsourcing company. At that time, the companies were starting to move their data centers
Hmm.
and to do the
Hmm.
collocation. And then I moved to this company, and there I started having contact with different types of Unix, like Sun Solaris,
Hmm.
AGP, UX, IBM AIX,
Yeah, AIX
what
exactly.
AS 400 they have there,
Hmm.
and then I start doing Java because we need to monitor all the things using SNMP.
Ah, exactly.
So yeah, it was amazing. There were good libraries for
Simple
doing
network
SNMP.
management protocol. Hmm.
Yeah. UDP, yeah, it's very nice one. It's fun one.
There were
It's
traps, right? In SNMP, there were traps, as I remember, right? Traps, like.
traps. Yeah, you have three operations. You can send traps. You can do get like
Hmm.
with a object ID and get some information, and then there is the opposite way Yeah, that was no, the
It was
track was
almost
the ally.
dead, right? SNMP is just no more available, I would say, right?
I would say that it should be alive behind the scenes in some halters, you know. But I
Yeah, but
remember,
in Java, what happens in Java? I remember at the beginning, most of the application server had SNMP, and it died because of JMX. So JMX now
uh-huh,
killed SNMP. So
yeah,
this was
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. For
It was
Java, yeah,
different level, but still, I cannot remember that any company used ever SNMP on in Java. So it was like
yeah.
maybe low level, but not for Java servers or so. The JMX was always.
Yeah, the problem with SNMP was a lack of security in the version one, right? Because you just have a plain text to protect the things, and there are many opportunities to attack companies through the SNMP because the operations, the default password is public, and for private is private. So if you don't change,
So now
you
it,
can
now
have.
it wouldn't fly, I would say, with without security.
Yeah, but for in the beginning of Internet of Things, many people used SNMP to grab data from sensors because the way that you organize your devices network and a hierarchy of your devices and the diagram is amazing. The concept of object identification and the object tree from SNMP is very, very good. Uh, and many people use it before MQTT getting popular and after IBM stopped charging for MQTT, right? Because MQTT is a 20 years old protocol, and that is not something new. The new is that IBM stopped charging for the protocol, and then everybody's using for IoT, right?
Okay. And then you somehow got into Sun, right? Because if you knew Solaris, you maybe met, some people from Sun. This was the first contact.
Yeah, Carlos Rusconi was my manager, and he liked the way I write code, and I was like, okay, it's Perl, I'm in, it's Visual Basic, I am in, it's Java, I can learn. A lot of bias to learn new things. I was young, I still have this bias, but I'm very much more slow. But and then I start as a Sun
One question to you,
instructor.
because you say you are slower now. Are we really slower, or we just don't do stupid things anymore? I think if you are young, you try everything out, and now it's like we already know it doesn't make any sense to do it because it is the chance very high that it is waste of time. And if you're young, you are. I don't know whether you're productive. You do lots of things, but maybe 80% dies, right? You learn stuff this way, but you are not fast.
Yeah, yeah, your deep learning is less curated, So
Because I thought about this a lot, because I have the feeling I get faster and faster, and I'm not writing any waste. So sometimes I write code just for fun. This is not a waste. I just wrote it for fun. But what I remember at the beginning, I tried a lot of things out and they never worked. And now
uh-huh.
it is, and now I would say for years that I tried something and it doesn't work. Maybe it works, I'm not satisfied, or it is boring, so I stop. But at the beginning, I did lots of small projects like this is too hard, I stop. This is too hard, I stop. So I've wrote continuously code, but not everything worked. So it's really
Yeah,
interesting, to see if you get older, are you really slower, or you just say, okay, I'm bored with it, so yeah, I do something different, which could be more successful, right?
yeah, let's say in terms of technology that we have a reinforcement learning way to progress, So in the beginning, I think that we have a lot of energy, but then we struggle. Like if we look at deep racer models, you see the car when it's in the very beginning of the training, the car is struggling from
Yeah,
one
exactly.
side to another side, and then you are not moving forward. You are doing a lot of things, but you are not moving forward.
Yeah, but
And I
your
think
your
that
speed is faster. But if you measure the speed in one direction, it's slower, right? This is how we could.
yeah, that's the point. That's the point. I think that now we can be we can go slowly because we know the direction is right is the right direction. So we don't need if we need to go faster, we
But
can go faster.
even if we go, I don't know why I mean, we are typing as fast as before. We do less mistakes, and we know what we will write. So why are you saying we are slower? Then really, if you think about this, right? Because it's not like we are typing. I don't. I thought about this. I would say last 2 days, right? So okay, I wrote some code 20 years ago, and now what's the difference? And I don't think I'm slower now than 20 years ago. I would say. Do you
Yeah,
think so?
you are in you are in a very good shape.
You
You
are
are
a
using
surfer, you know.
you are using your brain. Probably you are using your Java brain much more than I am using. Because
No, yeah, okay.
at,
This is different. This is not your not your age. If you're interested in
uh-huh.
different things, and you don't do Java anymore, this is different. Okay, this. But if you would, keep doing Java, or you will keep, I don't know, programming other language, let's say Python, and you, I know, you stick with Python all the time. I assume that if you get older, you are still faster. Or if
Uh-huh.
maybe you miss a trend, right? So if you say there's a new development in Python and you ignore it, then you have a problem. But if you are still, you would like to incrementally learn, I don't think you can get slower.
Now let's say about the white elephant. So, and what about the Chat GPT for writing software and converting
Yeah,
legacies, for example?
I used Code Whisperer. I used the forget
Copilot?
what's Copilot, and it
Uh-huh.
was interesting experience. But what I recognized quickly that it trained on tutorials like code, and the code worked, but it was too much code. So I was always able to delete the code. So it was interesting learning experience for me because I said, okay, this is interesting how what the suggestion is, but I don't like it, so I tweak the code. So I would say if you know coding, you can be faster. If you don't know coding, you are in trouble because
Oh,
if you accept everything, it won't work. But you can be. For me, it is like code completion on steroids.
good definition. I like
Yeah,
it.
for me, and boy, I deactivated all the agents right now because I would like to write cleaner code, but I really would like to reactivate them and sometimes I know switch IDEs, and sometimes I now which and ChatGPT. I would say this is no way around. It will stay here, I would say, and it will change how we code as well. But it's not. I would say if you accept that and you can code, you are faster. And if you don't accept it in one point of time, you will lose because I think ChatGPT get better and better, and you will have to do something with it, right?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm really looking forward to use this for modernization, app modernization. Like I have a big legacy with JBoss Sim, and if you look, it's so similar everything and
Yeah.
so simple to a model to understand what I have there and what I want to have on Quarkus, for example. And
But what would
so
be interesting, there are some tools already doing this. So you can say, okay, no, ChatGPT or ChatGPT not that much, but let's say the Copilot or Code Whisperer. This is my code base I wrote. Just learn from that. So it will suggest
yeah,
my code, and maybe my code with external best practices mixed. This could be really interesting, because then you have something like a pattern engine or so macro engine. No, but now back to
uh-huh,
you. I will have to reinvite you
uh-huh.
again. I see it already. But the Sun Microsystems time at least we should cover. So you started at Sun, you told me, and as a contractor, right?
Yeah,
And then
always as a contractor.
and
Yeah.
then you started to give courses because you bumped into the video course, and you say, okay, and now you're certified, and you started to deliver
And
courses.
I was at that time I was a Microsoft certified instructor for the Visual Basic, so I was playing both games, so Microsoft and Sun. So I was really in love of teaching developers. So
What do you like
and
better,
then
Visual Basic or Java back then?
no, at that time I was doing Visual Basic just for my last jobs and doing trainings, and I just stopped
Okay.
I think that 99 I stopped with Visual Basic, and but if I have a training opportunity and I have time, it was a good money for doing an extra. But at that time it was all about Java, And yeah, and then what happened there? From there, inside Sun Microsystems, I had a contract as a consultant and as an instructor. And then at that time, Sun Microsystem in Brazil was like growing very fast. But I don't remember what was happening here in US. But they freeze all the new hires at Sun Microsystem for some reason, and then I was kind of lucky because my company was legal and with a legal contract, and then they said, okay, let's use. Can we use your company? And need to hire 20 managers for projects, and then we pay this X, and you intermediate until the freezing is here, and then once the freezing is gone, we can hire them. And then, okay, let's do it. I have some risk, but okay, I can earn some money. Okay, but your company will need a better name because the name was my surname, Sanger Services, Technology Service. And then, okay, and then I was with the marketing team at Sun Microsystem, and then a woman, called Ilana, just look and, okay, Java is global, runs everywhere. So your company can have the name Global Code.
Okay.
I love the name. So, and then my company started inside Sun Microsystems too. And now my story, because then I met Yara, and then
Okay.
Yara was working for Accenture, and then
What's his last name?
Yara, Yara Mascarenhas. Now it's Mascarenhas.
Okay.
Before that, and then what happened there? I stopped working for the Sun Microsystems for training. I didn't renew my contract because I was having a lot of opportunities to do personal trainings, and my contract wouldn't allow me. And I said, oh, this year I will try to be individual and sell my own trainings. And then I created the AWS Java, the AWS, okay, now I'm creating the AWS Java Academy. But at that time I created Java Academy, based on my experience delivering the trainings at Sun. I noticed that that kind of training was very expensive for individuals. Most of the times, the companies were paying for the employees to be trained. I think that you have the same,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I say we need to create something for individuals that they can really learn in a slow motion. And then I create the Java Academy, which in Portuguese would be the Java Gym.
Oh.
And so you go twice a week to the Java Gym, and then you have 4 hours per day, 8 hours per week, and you have a slow cooking process to learn Java over 4 months, and not in a week. You start on Monday, you finish on Friday, and if you don't use that knowledge in the next week, you are going to forget. So I try to fix the things, the issues that we have at Sun trainings on the Java Academy. And man, I made my life. I have 2 kids because of that.
Because of that, yeah, exactly. Because you met your wife in distributed programming course.
And then we have 2 kids, Maria and Rafa, and Yara and I. We still have we founded the developers conference right after,
Okay.
which also has a story with Sun Microsystems, because we just founded the TDC. Looked at how the things are, because we were pumping with the Java Academy, and Sun wasn't happy with us because they were starting targeting individuals beyond companies and said, oh, Vinicius just learn everything here and launch his product and everything. And we were sponsoring the Sun Tech Day. Do you remember Sun Tech
yeah,
Day?
Suntech Days. Yeah, I attended in Frankfurt several times.
We sponsored in Brazil and as Global Code. And then James Gosling came to Brazil, and then we bring everybody to for a boat trip. It was amazing. and I have a very I still have a good relation with James Gosling, but at that time our relation with the real Java engineers was perfect. And then the next year, Sun didn't allow at Global Code to sponsor Suntech Days anymore. And then we
Okay.
say, okay, you don't want our money, we are going to create our own conference. And
Okay.
then we created the developers conference, which is a daily job of more than 40 employees, and I'm very proud of that. Yara is the CTO, CEO actually, and doing a great job there. And
So
I'll try
Global
to
Code
do it.
was big deal back then, right? Were you the CTO, CEO? What was it? Your owner? What was your role at Global Code?
Yeah, I was the CTO. The CTO. Yeah,
Okay,
I was
incredible.
inventing new methodologies
How big
and
was the
then
Global Code in Brazil? How big was the company?
we had 15 branches in different cities.
Wow, so
Provide,
huge.
yeah, huge, yeah. But the brands are like partners, and we own three different brands in three different cities, and then more 12 from partners, and like we used up to 50 Java instructors, and yeah, it was huge.
But
It
how it's
was huge.
possible from Sanger Technologies to Global Code, and you became from owner to CTO, so you were degraded.
Yeah, you can promote yourself. It's easy.
Okay.
Okay.
No,
I need.
because Sanger you were owner, but in Global Code you were CTO, and CTO is less than an owner, right? No.
Yeah, yeah. Look, Yara was always my partner there.
Ah,
I
okay.
launched the company alone, but Yara was always my partner there. So we split the responsibilities, and
Ah, now I understand. Okay.
yeah, and but then in 2003 we were growing so fast that I say I need to hire a boss for me, because without a boss I will not do the right things. And then I hire my ex-boss from my ex-company that I was working as a contractor. Oh, he's a good boss.
Cool.
Let's bring him. Yeah,
Incredible story.
yeah.
So I actually attended the TDC. I was invited last year to a remote conference. So I actually was a speaker at the TDC, which was a really
I
nice
don't know.
conference.
How was your experience?
Very good, because I never was in conference in Brazil. This was a remote conference, and there was a podcast and a conference, I remember. And I met, the Java champions, and for me it was great. So I really liked that. It was the TDC, exactly. Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was last year ago,
Yara.
so it was the old conference, right? So it's
Yeah, yeah. It's like a 15 years old
yeah. What you
conference.
said, it should be like yeah.
Yeah,
A cool story.
we
So
start.
because
Yeah,
Sun didn't wanted your money, you started your own conference with your money, right? So this was
yeah, that was the story. Yeah,
interesting. But interesting that
and
Sun
then
was so strategic. From my impression of Sun is they just is like like a software hippies. They do whatever suits the open source platform. But in your case, they were more strategic. They wanted to sell something, which was interesting.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a lot of learning, for everybody, and for Sun. Sun was so exciting company. It's
Yeah,
a case that should be studied better, for not happening again, because
it will happen again, I think.
yeah, they were very ahead of time. I remember like Sun Spot, and
Yeah,
if you look at Sun Spot was being launched earlier than Arduino get all the
yeah.
popularity. But if you look at the Sun Spot architecture, you have a ARM microcontroller running
Small
the
programmable object technology. This is Spot.
ah,
Small programmable object
yeah.
technology. Exactly. I have two spots
Yeah,
still.
I still have here with me. Yeah, it's always near from me. And then if you look at the architecture, it has a ARM microcontroller running the Java Squawk. I think that was the real-time virtual machine.
And
It
this was
was a
in
real,
2007 and 8, I remember.
yeah, 2007 and 8. Yeah, yeah. And all the hardware, the IoT wasn't. We didn't have the name IoT at that time.
You know what they used these spots for
Uh,
at Sun? What was the use case for spots internal?
for doing demos.
No, they use yeah, but they also use you remember? I think the name was Sun Container. I think you could buy a data center from Sun, and it was shipped as a shipping container, and inside the container was fully loaded with computers, and it had external power and external cooling, and like a shipping container, and I think it was called Sun Container, and these pods. They measure the temperature, and they measure, the like a sensors. They were used like how to call it, observability tools for the Sun shipping container.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Yeah. Look, they were very ahead
It's
of
like
time.
Snowmobile, like a Snowmobile back then. Snowmobile from
Yeah.
AWS. It exactly the same actually story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Was mentioning the same thing, but how many years? Like 15 years earlier.
Yeah.
So they were very ahead of time. I think that with SunSport, even with Java, with all the network is the computer. That's a so strong philosophy that they now look. The network is the computer.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, of course. So it's Sun, and sorry, not Sun. We are talking about Global Code already. So TDC, and what happened with Global Code, or what is trajectory to now? I mean, because it's interesting
that's
now.
good.
Because
For training, TDC start growing very fast, and we have some good competitors in Brazil for trainings, more than one. But then once we start paying more attention on TDC, they were trying to create a conference, and they stopped doing the conference, and we stopped doing training. And so Alura is now the company that is very well succeed in Brazil for providing training, not just Java training. And I'm from Paulo Silveira and Guilherme Silveira. They are the founders. They are amazing Java developers as well. And then Global Code. We just published our material, all the content from the trainings as open source, and then distributed in different websites. And then we just keep Global Code is just maintaining TDC, and so it's a company that is not doing Java training anymore, and TDC just grow a lot, and.
But you quit then in one point of time, right? So you are no more CTO.
Yeah. So 5 years ago, when I started working for AWS.
How this
And then
happened from Global Code to AWS? Because
was-
Code sounds way better than AWS, so this is why. Sounds
Nobody.
larger. Sounds larger. AWS for me is like a small company, and Global Code is a Global Code, right?
Yeah, I once TDC start doing very well, I said, okay, let me find something else. And then I was doing IoT projects for AWS, actually, for smart cities. And then they sponsor TDC, and they need someone to deliver a workshop about IoT. And then I was there delivering the workshop. And then I was working with AWS Brazil for TDC, and then my friend Julio Ferman, that he was the technical evangelist at that time, and we call us technical evangelist for Latin America, and he was moving to Spain, and then he said, "Hey, come on, you are now you don't have any project to deliver, you are just surfing," and I was really enjoying my life. Just come on, try to do the interviews for my position, and you will help me because my manager want to move me, but he want to see that we have candidates. So I said, okay, let's do this exercise, and then I don't want a fixed job, but let's do it to help Julio and see. And it was like many years that I didn't went to any hiring process, for years and years. And then let's do this exercise. Last time was for Yahoo here in California, because I was here for a Java 1, and then someone said, oh, go there and train to do interview in English. And then I did an interview 2007 here for Yahoo. And then I start the process. And then I think that after the 4 interviews. I got approved on my technical background and got approved with everything. And then I said, okay, now it's time to know how much they pay and what is the benefits and everything. And they didn't open, but I started to investigate with some friends, and looks interesting. And the secret behind this is that I was on Jay on the Beach in 2007, and I was with a friend of mine that was a CTO, a founder and CTO for a big company. And then he said, you know what? I heard that James Gosling is moving to AWS. And then I said, man, I am in the process for being a technical evangelist there. Maybe it's a great sign, like Gosling is going there. And then I said it was getting interesting, and the offer was very good, and I just passed the loop, the famous loop process. And and then I started working as a employee, and I just like fall in love because I was taking care about companies for 20 years, and you have advantages and disadvantages, and I was looking forward to be on the other side of the moon.
Yeah, and what you did at AWS? So what is your job, or what was your
Yeah,
tasks?
I was covering in the past. I was covering Latin America. I was a regional DA for 40 years,
But what does it
and
mean?
then
What you did?
regional DA, you basically you take care about you have a fixed region, and then you have to cover uh, technologies, 3 or 4 technologies that are in your domain. And in my case, I was covering like Java, IoT, serverless, AI/ML. So we do talks for all the conferences that we organize, like summits or a cloud experience, startup days. We have many conferences that we use to organize. Now, not that much. And we take care about the user groups, launching new user groups, maintaining the existing user groups.
Hey Vinicius, what is missing is a Java only conference about AWS technologies. You have Corretto, this would be cool.
Now I moved to be a Java specialist. I'm working in this position for a year and a half, and
Okay.
now I'm trying to put all the pieces of this Java puzzle together. I think that if we say that
NetBeans.
programming languages are puzzles, Java is the biggest, more pieces to put together, because we have Quarkus, we have Spring, we have Jakarta EE, we have Maven, we have Gradle, we have fragmentation everywhere. And but I'm happy because I'm really working with James Gosling. Sometimes we have meetings, and
Oh, really? You are working with
coincident.
him?
Not working, but I asked him, can you give me 15 minutes of your time to review something with me? And then 2 times, 3 times per year, he accepts, and I don't ask too much.
Yeah. Is it like the 15 minutes for Christmas from James, something like this, right?
But he's amazing, and also I'm very happy because Corretto is a big thing, is open
Yeah.
source. I like to promote much more open source and neutral technologies than selling things. It's not my style of doing the things.
Yeah.
And then I'm working with Quarkus now a lot. I'm in love with Quarkus. I think that Quarkus is bringing a lot of fun to Java development again. And but we need to do much more. I agree with you, Adam. We have a lot of cool stuff to do for conferences, for promoting open source, and we are trying to organize new stuff. At AWS, we are working on a Java Game Day. So it's a kind of game inside Roblox that you walk through, and you need to build backend applications, and then you need to feed the Roblox with the URL, and then you have quiz, you have phase. I'm working on this prototype of the Java Game Day because I think that also onboarding new Java developers,
Yeah.
not for it, I'm not talking with the AWS T-shirt, but I really think that we have like thousands of new developers coming to the market every year, and I'm worried about onboarding Java developers and also showing that Java can be used on cool stuff. I was mentioning the demo for you. I use FFT and then I detect a note from my ukulele, and then I convert to IoT message using
This was the
MQTT.
processing org demo, right? So now it's time to talk about this. This was the processing org, which is the predecessor of Arduino. Now we are in the right time slot to talk about that. So what are you doing? So you are recognizing nodes.
Notes, yeah, frequency. So with FFT, you can convert signals to frequency. And actually, to say here,
Fourier transform. What is FFT?
Fourier transform is.
Oh wow, this was the math fun, back then at school. FFT. Fourier transformations.
Yeah. So with processing in like 4 lines of code, you just grab your microphone in object, and you just pass as a argument for the FFT constructor, and then you just ask like, stop here and give me how much of this frequency I have, and then you can go to the frequency, the notes, the standard notes frequency, and recognize with a very good precision, and then from there I send to the IoT broker. In my case, I was using the AWS one, the IoT Core, and then I could feed like home automation system. I could feed Roblox, Minecraft, and then playing the game, playing the ukulele. You could make start raining. You could turn on and turn off lamps, and then you can use your instrument as a remote control, basically. So there are live beyond enterprises workload for Java. That's my message,
Cool stuff. So I never met you. So we met at Java user group. Last one, it was So Java, right? The So Java user group, and I just noticed that you know about Java, and we had a nice conversation, and I was not aware that you are doing so much Java stuff at AWS actually.
Yeah, we are trying to like my mission is try to like create this bridge between the Java community and the service teams, because for us so many services related to Java. And as I said, beyond all the Java fragmentation in the Java ecosystem, we also have a big fragmentation inside AWS. Like you can run containers in so many different services, and containers is a so big topic on Java, right?
I would say containers, it's maybe on AWS not the problem is fragmentation. Because it's choice, you can have as many. This is almost economic, decision which solution to pick usually. But what I see a problem is that over time Java disappeared of most of tutorials. So you have lots of tutorials with Python, and Java is not even there. And but good for me, because my project our Java, and if I show that something works on AWS with Java, everyone is stunned. This is wow, it works this way. So it was low hanging fruits to me. I just show hello world, and everyone is happy. It's okay. So this is not a big deal. It just works, right? Especially Quarkus or Lambda, for instance, are a great fit combined with CDK and Maven. You can do incredible things, because you can have self-provisioned runtimes with Java. For every Java developer you can use the same IDE, and you can even have executable infrastructure as code, like an executable jar. You say Java manage jar, and you get your infrastructure as code. So this is, I think, what should do a little bit more, but because my perception is that the big enterprises look at AWS and say, okay, maybe Java is not a cloud native language anymore. So this is my first impression from outside, which is of course not true. But you have to work more on tutorials, conferences, show maybe external investment, because where Java is also money, big enterprise running Java, and for them, if they know that they can still use Java in the cloud, they don't have to migrate, which is a huge time saver. Another observation, so I do shorts about Java on YouTube channel just for fun. But what I noticed is sometimes I think, okay, there's a trivial stuff. I don't don't even bother to record a shot because it's trivial. But it's okay. Let's try it. So I just did, for instance, one about static imports in Java, which is very simple, right? But there is audience for that. So it seems like really new developers are happy to see some introductory stuff about Java, and there are still people who would like to learn Java. So I think we should also do more in the in the cool Hello World stuff with Java. So so Java can be concise. You don't have to have 50 interfaces into factories to write Hello World. So you can do it very efficiently, and this is maybe because all the architects did a lots of harm back then because we wrote 20 layers to hit the database, which was not necessary at all. And there are still lots of old tutorials on Stack Overflow and everywhere, which are absolutely out of date. So I think it's time to show more modern Java, right?
Yeah, and absolutely. And it just meet what I'm doing another project, the AWS Java Academy, based on the experience that I had on Global Cool. So last year I started writing a pet store, the new pet store, but a cloud native pet store that is called Pig Bank, because pet store you cannot use, you are not owning a pet store to use that. So I try to thinking something that could be useful, especially useful for me, and then I create this Pig Bank. This Pig Bank is a backend application that you can use to manage your personal banking accounts and expenses.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and then we
Quarkus.
wrote the Pig Bank. Quarkus. Yeah, we wrote the Pig Bank.
Yeah, you have to send me the links.
Yeah.
us.
I'm going to send the link now.
Yeah, I can do later. So after the show, send me just no email with
Yeah,
all the
because
links.
the Java Academy, we have a prototype that I published from Java Academy last week, and then I'm going to send. And then we did with Quarkus and MySQL, Aurora serverless actually, with all the CloudFormation. I'm looking, V2, yeah.
Why SQL and not Postgres? I have the impression that Postgres is a little bit more popular. It doesn't matter actually, but still, was the choice?
The choice is more based on my personal experience. Okay. The workloads that I still help to manage, they are all on MySQL. So
really, because I have the perception since Oracle bought MySQL. The open source went, the Postgres way. So I would say the MySQL was on the Oracle Sun and now Oracle, right? So Sun bought MySQL and Oracle bought Sun. This was the, but still popular. Okay.
Yeah, and then we have the same application with DynamoDB, so NoSQL version. And on the
single table design.
Single table design, yeah.
Perfect.
We managed to do the single table design, and then for this we have and then for instead of creating the Pig Bank application, we are creating the tutorials that allows you to create from scratch. And now we are working to have a micronode version of the Pig Bank, a Spring version of the Pig Bank, and also a Jakarta EE deployment based on the Quarkus one, because we can isolate the Quarkus dependencies and create something that we can share between Quarkus and Jakarta EE.
Yeah.
And then at least we will have the 4 frameworks combined with SQL and NoSQL and with REST interfaces. And at the end of this year, I intended to have like REST or GraphQL, and somehow we will have all the tutorials from the Java Academy, and those tutorials, they will be used on the Java Game Day to solve the game, so it's all connected. And then I want to have the combination of SQL, NoSQL, GraphQL, REST,
and WebSockets.
And WebSockets. Good.
Would be cool.
Input. Yeah.
AppSync or API gateway with WebSockets, I would say, because it's tricky. Good. You could use the Lambda Power Tools. They have support, so you can look what they did. But the API gateway already supports WebSockets, what would be good. There's a little bit more than usual REST, but if you have some time, maybe you get the 15 minutes with James again.
Yeah, yeah, good. Good. And then we are discussing to run a road tour, a Java community road tour, where we will be able to provide temporary accounts for anyone that want to run the Java game day, you know. And then developers can have for up to 3 days. They can have all you can eat account, so they can work with this temporary account on the community hold on the event day, and then they can keep doing things for more 2 days, like anything using the account, and they don't need to provide a credit card, so it's really safe. And I think
This
that
is a
is
great
something good.
story.
Yeah, it's something good to onboard developers without any frustration. And I really want to show like a Quarkus, Micronode, and CDK and things this concept. But as I said, we are running on Lambda, but you know Quarkus how fast it is to change any provider. You have the container, you can run anywhere, right?
Yeah, yeah, very good.
And
So I was not aware that actually there's something like things happens on AWS. So it's good. Yeah, it was actually good to invite you here. You know.
yeah, so yeah, let's keep in touch because I think that I am this bridge, and then we can do much more for next year, you know. Uh, and then we are looking forward to have some budget for Java for a specific programming language because uh, 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 it's
And
kind
what's
of
also
new for us.
important, what's also important, and maybe is also easier to sell internally is something like game day, but for enterprises. You know what you
Uh-huh.
did with Quarkus, just know a little bit more serious without game days. Okay, look, this is CDK. This is how the provisioning works. This is how this would be very interesting. I would say the system then is business logic doesn't matter. It's just hello world, just to show what's possible and how to approach things. What is serverless, Java in serverless, in containers, on EC2 bare metal. So just to show how it works. Just to remember, because I think lots of things get forgotten. What I sometimes notice, people are believing that the only way to run Java in the cloud is Kubernetes, and there are a way easier way to do that, like Fargate, Lambda, and
App runner.
yeah, even code build for crazy stuff for batch processing is great. So I would say for simple, it's just serverless a batch job engine. So there are lots of things just to show what you can actually do if you would migrate the old Java EE application servers to the cloud, how you would do this. So yeah, this would be also interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Like the we don't use legacy internally. We say existing softwares. It's
Yeah.
very important for Java and to support like to have a clear path. I'm doing a migration and with a customer to have this exercise. They are migrating from like their own servers to EC2 and now trying to have everything on containers, and then it's a nice process to see like how they start with bigger computing units and then go to smaller computing units
But
until
even
they
but
arrive on level.
but even I mean there are two migration strategies, right? There are lift and shift would be the one, and the other one would be just to rethink stuff. Because a very 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 basic example. So if you have a Java EE application, the security is inside the application. So if you go to the cloud, I would like to move the security out of the application to API gateway or Cognito, for instance, right? So what changes? You get just the token, but you don't care how you get the token. If you are not in the cloud, you have to implement the code or use the code, OpenID Connect, for instance, to get the token. So very, very basic
Uh-huh.
example. Or connection pooling. If you're in Lambda, there is no connection pooling. So there are some things you don't have to do, but you have to know it. So some small tricks like that would be also hugely, I would say, interesting for larger companies.
Yeah,
We have to quit now because it's way too late. So I would like to reinvite you
especially
back.
for you, especially for
For
you. For
for me, and
me,
yes, for you as well. You have to to work on the game Java game day. Otherwise, we don't not get it for Christmas, right? So
uh,
But I would like to invite you again. So if you have some progress, so we have to talk what happens there. I'm really always interested in Java, and I like Corretto a lot. And for me, just as a cliffhanger, maybe, application Java E, right? Java E application servers. You know them, right? JBoss and so for me, if you think about Java E and J2E, about the concepts and ideas, and you take a look at serverless and Lambda, for me it's the same. These are exactly the same concepts we had back then, applied to serverless. And I did this several times. I spoke at Java user group recently, and I even delivered a talk about it was like EGB developers, you are now the serverless expert, because it's really true. If you think about the Lambda process model and EGB pooling and programming restrictions and Lambdas, it is the same. If you think in Java, it was all about business. Don't think about the infrastructure. It is provided by the application server. Lambda is the same, but Lambda goes even a step further. In application servers, you created a war, but you have to run the application server. So in Lambda, there is no war. It's just a zip. This is the main difference. But if you think about the concepts, you see one-to-one mapping between what Sun did 20 years ago and now what happens again as serverless.
Yeah, and inspired on that, that's the reason why I said we need a new pet store, and
yeah,
then
exactly.
we can have like different models of architecture for this pet store. And then that's the reason that motivated me to create this pet store, because I want to have in the future like something that you can go there. I want to create a Java app. Okay, do you want which framework, which kind of interface, which database, which authentication, and boom, here we go. Follow the steps, and you have like the archetypes. In the end of the day, we are talking about archetypes. But
Vinicius, and the next step would be CDK patterns. Because we can prepare everything CDK patterns in Java. So you can say, there's a cognito construct, a custom construct, like, I don't know whether there's like the load balanced Fargate construct is like one line of code and you have the entire Fargate. So you can go do more. And I have actually lots of custom constructs for customers, but NDAs, they just get lost. So if I had a little bit more time, I will write it for me. But where people can find you on the internet. We have to quit here, otherwise we'll speak until tomorrow morning.
On Twitter I am vsenger, Senger, and on Instagram I am Crazy Vini Cozinha, which means Crazy Vini.
And
that's my hobby.
And you will send me links to all your work currently with Game Day and the pet store, successor, and stuff like that, right?
Sure. Yeah, it's all in the same page. You will see that, and then let's keep in touch to provide you my progress here, Adam. Thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you.